Welcome to the Pursuit of Constant Improvement podcast, the fitness and self-improvement podcast for those who are looking to become the best human being possible. If your goal is to improve your mind, your body, and your routine, then you are in the right place. If you gain some value from this episode, I would be incredibly grateful if you could rate the podcast on Spotify or subscribe on YouTube. But without further ado, I am your host, Connor Malone, and this is the Pursuit of Constant Improvement. In today's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you some of these self-improvement concepts that helped change my life. Now, I first found the idea of self-improvement when I was 19 years old. I'm 26 now, and in that time, I've been through so many different rabbit holes, and these concepts today are some of the most impactful that I've ever found. Some of the things that I found not only deeply interesting, but deeply impactful. Things that you'll be able to straight away apply to your life. Most of these are perception-based, but I'm so excited to share these with you because these are essentially like my secrets to the good life, to a life of constant improvement, which for me personally has brought so much purpose, fulfillment, and joy into my life over these years, again, since the age of 19 to 26. And that's exactly how we're going to start today's episode. And it says constant improvement as a lifestyle. My life changed when I started to pursue constant improvement. Like for so many years, obviously I was still a young man, but I had no structure, no direction. Whereas when I started to focus on becoming better at different areas of my life, that's when I actually started to see like, wow, actually I'm becoming pretty fulfilled here. Like progression is fantastic. Like, it's great. It's amazing. I love it. Absolutely love it. And I started listening to audiobooks. I was opening my mind to new ideas. And then I started a few years later, started reading. I started studying different concepts in both psychology, human behavior, loads of different types of psychology. I was loving it. And all of this allowed me to implement things into my life and become better. That's the whole point in constant improvement, is to become better physically and mentally every single week, every single month, which compounds into years. Because I started to, when I was starting to read or listen to all these audiobooks, I was hearing about what we could be, like what type of person you could be. You could be inspired, you could be disciplined, you can inspire others, all of these things. And then I started to paint a picture like maybe when I'm older, maybe I could become this guy. Maybe I could be so confident, maybe I could be consistent, maybe I could build so many areas of my life. I could build my physique, I could build my business, I could build myself mentally, I could become more resilient, I could become more emotionally intelligent. I started to build a vision of all these things. And the whole idea of the pursuit is that we have this vision and every single day of our lives is helping us push towards that. And it's extremely fulfilling to be on that. Now, one of the key things I want to start with is the fact that we are not meant to stay the same as human beings. We are meant to progress in life. We are meant to change. Life is change itself. Now, from an evolutionary psychology perspective, change is wired into us as human beings. Like you think of us again, tens of thousands of years ago, if not hundreds of thousands as cavemen, like obviously the whole point was just survival. That is what was drilled into us. We have to survive, we have to pass down our genes and then continue that on for years. Now, to do that, we were wired to adapt, to strive for more. Because you had to do that. You had to be malleable. You had to be able to adapt to live on. And as I said, pass down your genes. So from an evolutionary standpoint, there are things that have been wired into us which make us seek improvement as human beings. And when we seek improvement, that's when we get feelings of joy or fulfillment off the back of it. Again, because we're wired to as humans. Like this ability to evolve, to adapt, initially was to survive, but now it helps us thrive. When you think about it, one of the reward systems like in our body, one of the main ones is to do with dopamine. Like it encourages progress. That's the whole point in dopamine. Our body will release dopamine in response to overcoming a hard task. Now, unfortunately, in today's world, we have everything in abundance where we can get dopamine from very quick fixes. We get it from social media. When we're scrolling social media, we get these quick hits of dopamine and we feel good. Then that keeps happening, but guess what? We get used to it. Or we get crashes in dopamine. Of course, you've got drugs like cocaine, which will give you this huge spike in dopamine. Then guess what? The next day you have a huge crash, you feel horrific. Whereas we can get these things naturally, these natural sources and spikes in dopamine. I'm listening to this book right now, the audiobook is called The Dose Effect. And dose is like the main kind of chemicals and hormones that affect us in terms of our mood. So you've got like D is for dopamine, O is oxytocin, S is serotonin, and you've got E for endorphins. And all of these things, basically as human beings, will push us to do certain things. Like, for example, oxytocin Like that's secreted like when we like cuddle, when we share like love with others, the social aspect as humans, because we had to be social in evolutionary times to thrive as a group because it helped us survive. So that had been wired into us whenever we built stronger connections to it for our body to release oxytocin and make us feel good. Because it's like a reward system. It's our body saying, right, this is what you're meant to do, so keep doing it. Now, dopamine is the same. When you overcome hard tasks, you get a release in dopamine. You think of like, there's a really good example in the book actually. When he talks about tidying your room, right? You put off tidying your room. This is one that most people do. And then once they eventually get around to do it, they feel good. Or maybe it's a task at work that you've been putting off for ages and you just don't want to do it. But then when you finally get around to doing it, you feel great. You feel happy. Again, that's your body's natural response. That's your body's natural reward system to get you to do these things. Because tens of thousands of years ago, this helped us survive, but now it can help us thrive. But we just need to understand that, not chase the cheap dopamine, because we can get natural dopamine. You think of things like, for example, cold water exposure has a very high increase in dopamine once we come out of it. After that, you don't get a significant crash because it comes from a natural source. Whereas if you get that from a drug or a stimulant, then you often, the high is accompanied with a low. So that's one of the easy ways to look at the things that are natural and the ones that aren't so natural. Is it accompanied by a low? Not something you should be pursuing. Now, from a psychological perspective of why we should continue to grow and improve as human beings, is you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So obviously you've got the things that are needed for our survival, like with food and shelter, all of these things which are essential as, but at the very top of Maslow's hierarchy is self-actualization, which is essentially like growth, purpose, becoming the type of person you want to become, pursuing improvement in life, becoming your best self. That's right at the top of the pyramid. Of course, it's not at the very bottom, the foundational things which are programmed in us to survive. But then after that, our own self-actualization, that is huge in terms of fulfillment as a human being. So you can see both from an evolutionary standpoint, from a psychological standpoint, there are so many things that are pushing us to become better as human beings. We are meant to improve over time. Because what happens when you don't improve? You feel fed up, you feel lazy, you feel down, you're exposed to feelings of depression. Again, that's because you're not doing the thing that your body's trying to get you to do. You start to do all the things that you once said, not do the things that you once said you were going to do. Again, so you're basically fighting against your body's natural response, which is it wants to get better. We want to improve. So that's one of the key things for me, was realizing that as human beings, we are meant to improve. Constant improvement is one of the best ways that you can live life. Now, another point that I learned, another concept which was huge, is the fact that your perception changes everything. Your perspective, the way you see the world, it is up to you. This is one of the huge aspects of Stoicism and then in more modern times CBT in terms of helping us change the way that we see the world. We see different things because we all experience the world. We could both experience the same thing, but we all see it differently. Like, for example, there's a quote from Dale Carnegie and he says, "Two men looked out from prison bars. One saw the mud, the other saw the stars." You can look at the same thing, but then one person will think of one thing, one person will think of the other. You think of the whole glass half empty, glass half full. The optimist will say, well, that glass is half full. Whereas the pessimist will say, oh, it's half empty. It's the same thing. The thing itself does not change. But your response to it changes, the way that you see it. Now, we can change our perspective over time. It takes time, but we can change it. So there are people that, yes, are more pessimistic, they are more negative. They can change that over time through their actions, through different processes. And that was one thing I started to realize. I wasn't naturally an optimist. I wasn't somebody that looked at things and went, oh, you can grow and improve, you can do all these things and become a better version of yourself. Like, I never thought that way. But over time, when I was exposed to different thoughts and ideas and I took action on them, my perception of the world started to change. Now, the way I like to explain it is we all have a pair of glasses, right? We all have different lenses. So, for example, we might be looking out from that example, those prison bars. Somebody has a dark lens, somebody has a light lens. They see all the good things in life, whereas others see all the negative things in life. Now, I was speaking to a client about this last week, and he sent me this great quote, my client you, and he said, red flags look different through rose-tinted glasses. We were speaking about infatuation. Like when you're infatuated by someone, you think they're unbelievable. You think everything about them is great. Your perception of them is like there's nothing wrong with them at all. Again, this is when we look at it, this is perception. So you think of it, there could be red flags, but if your glasses are tinted, you won't see the red flag. Now we can compare this to any other aspect of life. If you have a dark lens in life, there can be brightness everywhere, there can be really good things, but you won't notice that because your lens does not show that. Now you can clean that lens, and I'm going to go over ways that we can do that. But there was another quote on that point of infatuation. Stephen Fry said in Mythos, which is a fantastic book, he says, when lust descends, discretion, common sense, and wisdom fly off. And we think of this again, it's like if you've ever been, which I'm sure you have been, you've been lustful towards someone, you've been infatuated by someone, there is nothing wrong with them. At the time, your perception of them is they are perfect. And this happens all the time. You see in relationships when you first get with someone, they're the best things in sliced bread. And then you see people break up years down the line, they hate each other. Why? Because their perception of each other changes over time. Now, a lot of the time that is because of actions. But again, this is all down to you at the end of the day. You can choose how to see certain things. And those rose-tinted glasses, those are an example of that there. Now, to be happy, to be optimistic, you need to clean your lens. Because we all can look at the world and see the same thing, but it's your perception that will dictate what thing that you then emphasize. There's a part of the brain, it's called the RAS system, the reticular activating system, and essentially what its job is to filter thoughts. So you have tens of thousands of thoughts every single day. Most of them are subconscious, but to bring them into the conscious mind, there's this system in the brain that then says, right, this is important, bring it to our conscious mind. Now, what determines what is brought to your conscious mind is based off lots of different things, but it's like what you value. If you're constantly looking at negative things and your perception of the world is, oh, this is bad, this is shit, whatever, your brain is going to pick out those things. Whereas if you're constantly repeating and looking for optimistic things, if you're looking for the good in life, eventually, through repetition, through neuroplasticity, your brain will start to pick out those things. It will start to bring things to the front of your mind which are positive. So, for example, when you're somebody that goes out and it's maybe, let's say you go out and you're with your friend and it's raining outside. They'll say, oh, it's raining outside, it's miserable, oh, I don't want to do this. Whereas you'll look and you'll see something good about the day. You'll be positive about it because you'll have essentially trained your mind to look for that. Again, it's the reticular activating system that does that. And that will then change our lens, the way that we see the world. Now, the biggest thing that I've done to change my lens to a clean lens and I see all the good things in the world is by practicing gratitude. Because every single day I'm telling myself, these are 3 things that I'm grateful for. I appreciate these things. So guess what? I'm more likely to see them. Whereas if you're constantly complaining, you're like, oh, everything's shit. Oh, everybody's miserable. Oh, why am I not getting this? Why am I not getting that? All you'll be showing is negativity. Whereas if you take ownership for things in your life and you don't blame others, and you look and you say, do you know what? It might be raining, but yesterday was a lovely day. The weather's meant to be better next week. If you're that type of person, you're much more likely to see the positive side in life. Again, you could literally put it in front of someone, a positive and a negative. If they're wired to see the negative, they will see it that way. But gratitude is the antidote to that. Gratitude is the antidote to unrealistic expectations. Because when you have all these unrealistic expectations of life, like, oh, everybody needs to be nice to me all the time. Oh, I need to get everything in life. I deserve this. I deserve that. Life isn't going to go that way. And you're going to be very disappointed. And you're going to see everything as negative. Whereas if you have realistic expectations, you're not going to have that. You're going to have a more positive and optimistic lens and view of life. So your perception is everything. And it's changeable. That's one of the big lessons I learned. Another self-improvement lesson, which I love, is about happiness. I learned this from Mo Gaudat on a podcast. He was on the Diary of a CEO. This was about 3 years ago now. One of my favorite podcast episodes ever. And he says that happiness equals reality minus expectations. And this is the idea that our happiness will be determined by our expectations. So if you expect everything to be great all of the time, it's not going to be great all of the time. So the reality of life will be below your expectations. Therefore, you will feel feelings of unhappiness. Whereas if something exceeds your expectations, you'll feel good. Like, let's say you go into work and you say, today is going to be the perfect day. Everything is going to be nice. Everybody's going to be in a good mood. The sun is going to be shining. Oh, I'm going to have such a great day. I'll no doubt get an early finish. All of these things. You wake up late. You slept in. Your alarm died overnight. It's raining outside. You turn up to work. Everybody's miserable. Then you're like, oh, shit. That was so below your expectations that you don't feel happy. Whereas if you have more realistic expectations, you're like, do you know what? Today might be a good, tomorrow might be a good day, but it doesn't matter. Whatever way it goes, I'll be happy with that. I'll be pleased with that. You have more realistic expectations, you're more likely to be happy because reality would then exceed your expectations. Let's say, for example, you go into work, you expect it to be a normal day. Somebody's bought you a coffee, got you a wee cake. You're like, oh, right, I didn't expect that. It's exceeded my expectations. You're happy. Your boss says to you, oh, do you want to finish an hour early? Oof, that's exceeded your expectations. You go home, your partner's cooked you a dinner, exceeded your expectations. You can see where I'm going with this here. If we have realistic, now I'm not saying low expectations, but realistic expectations of life, we have much more chance of being happy and fulfilled. The people that expect everything to be handed to them, Those are the people that are unhappy in life. They expect everything to go a certain way. They expect everybody to be kind and to be nice all the time. That's not how life works. That is not a realistic view of the world. So of course you're going to be miserable. Whereas if you start to accept these things as normal, then guess what? Life's got a good way of surprising you and exceeding your expectations. So it's a great lesson. You can look at life. If you're feeling particularly unhappy at a certain moment in time, you can think, right, how has my day, how is life at the moment below my expectations? How is reality below my expectations? Whereas if you're feeling particularly happy, you can look at things and say, oh, I wonder how things have exceeded my expectations today. And it's a great realization, and you'll be able to tie that to any feeling of happiness in your life. Now, another huge point in happiness comes to the hedonic treadmill or hedonic adaptation, which is essentially how the human brain adapts to certain achievements. So let's say, for example, like put it this way, when you got your first ever car, you were buzzing, you were unbelievably happy. Oh, it's the best thing in the world, I'm able to drive. Oh, it could have been a shit heap. Doesn't matter. You're buzzing. You absolutely love it. There's nothing better in this world. You're so happy. Now, a few weeks or maybe even a few months later, that baseline level of happiness returned. You went from being super happy down to pretty content. Now, the reason that was there is because of this hedonic adaptation. We don't just want one thing, achieve it, and then be happy for the rest of our life. That's the whole point. People believe, oh, I will achieve this, I will achieve that, and then I will be happy. That is bullshit. That's not the case. You're not going to achieve one said thing and be happy. The whole idea of constant improvement is the fact that we're constantly evolving and becoming better. We're not looking at one thing and saying, oh, I need this to be happy, because you don't. Because even if you did get that one thing, you would adapt. Hedonic adaptation would bring you back to a baseline level of happiness. The same as with sadness. No doubt you felt incredibly sad at moments of your life. You never stayed that way forever, did you? Things return to a baseline. Now, this is really good because it comes back to our expectations of things. Like, we shouldn't expect one thing to make us happy, because if we do, we're going to be disappointed. But again, coming to that point of the car, when you were once buzzing with that car, right now, if it's years down the line, you probably want a brand new car. You probably want something better. You would get a BMW, and you'd be like, oh, that's cool. And then a couple of years later, oh, I'd like a faster car. And then you want an even faster car or a newer car, and it keeps evolving. Happiness keeps going. That's the idea of it being a treadmill, because it keeps going. It's never one point and then you stop. So it's a really good thing to realize. Now, Marcus Aurelius, he says, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Coming back to that point in the reticular activating system, if we have more quality thoughts, high quality thoughts, we're practicing gratitude for things, we're realizing how lucky we are for things, about things that most people take for granted, your brain is then more likely to pick those things out. So you've got Marcus Aurelius saying that 2,000 years ago from a philosophical sense, but then you also have the psychology side of things that's backing that up. So again, your thoughts are everything. The way that you think about the world, the way you perceive different things will impact how you feel about them. One of the other self-improvement concepts that helped me hugely was the brick-by-brick method. This is what helped me develop self-confidence. Like, I'm speaking to you right now on a camera. I used to not be able to do this. I'd be shit fear. I used to panic. Whereas now I'm able to do this. Do you know why? Because I followed this method. It's very simple. The brick-by-brick method is this. We have a brick wall which establishes, it represents our level of confidence. Now, a brick is a promise. Every time you fulfill a promise to yourself, you add a brick to that wall. So imagine if there was a brick wall that was the height of your knees. Every time you say, I'm going to get up early, or I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to do this bit of work, or I'm going to do this for so-and-so, and you follow through and you do it, you add a brick to that wall. Of course, the smaller the promise, the smaller the brick, but the bigger the promise, the bigger the brick. So over time, these things add up, and you build that wall of confidence. However, every single time you tell yourself you're going to do something and you do not do it, you remove a brick from that wall. There's a great video of Conor McGregor, and he explains this. He says, I just keep telling myself, get up at this time. I didn't get up at this time. I told myself, eat this food. I didn't eat that food. I said, don't drink that. I drank that. And he's talking about all these things, little mental defeats. That's what tears away our self-confidence. So again, over time, if you want to become a confident individual, you have to fulfill the promises that you make to yourself. If you say you're going to do something, you have to follow through on it. Do the things you say you're going to do. That's how we build self-confidence. And you can envision that as that brick wall. That really helped for me. I looked at that brick wall, and you can ask yourself, how is my brick wall at the moment? Am I removing bricks or am I adding to it? Again, fulfill the promises you make to yourself. Now, just to finish that point, there's a quote by Alex Hormozi, which is a really good one. I've said it a few times in the podcast because I really, really do like it. And he says, you don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. Like for me personally, when I first started as a coach or even as a personal trainer, obviously in the beginning you have doubts. You think, oh, am I actually good at this? Am I any good at this? To overcome that and to build confidence, I had to get results. I had to get my clients results, which came in the form of transformations, testimonials, even just texts from clients. People tell me how I've helped change their life. I've totally changed their perceptions. I've changed their physique. I've increased their confidence. Now their life's totally different. It's improved so many different aspects of their life. That improves my confidence as a coach, which is one of the reasons that I can sit here today and be confident in telling you the things that I'm telling you, because I've lived it for so many years and I've built up that stack of proof. And I continue to do that every single day. That's what I'm looking to do, build proof of who I say I am. So it's so powerful. Now, to take away from this episode, let's go over those points again. Constant improvement brings purpose in your life. That's what it done for me. We are meant to progress in life. We've seen that from both a evolutionary psychology perspective, but then also from a psychological perspective in the sense of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like we need to do this as humans. The times when we're stagnant, that's when we become more depressed or we feel more, just less purpose driven in life. So it's a huge point that we need to remember. The other thing, your perspective is everything. It's your lens in life, the way that you see the world. You can clean those lenses that you look through and you see the world by. You can do that by practicing gratitude. You can do that by controlling your expectations. Realize that what you can control and what you can't control. Happiness equals reality minus expectations. A huge point, which, as I said, has been impactful in me in terms of being more happy, being more fulfilled. And of course, the one we just finished with, the brick by brick method and building self-confidence. Now, I'm going to leave you with a quote for today. It's by Montaigne, a French philosopher. And he said, "My life has been filled with terrible misfortunes, most of which never happened." And the point in that quote is this. So many times we worry about things. We think, oh, this is going to go this way, this is going to go that way. And we think, oh, everything's going to go terribly. But it never often does. The point he's getting at there is he's always catastrophizing, thinking this is going to go bad or this is this way. We actually zoom out and we look at things like, this too shall pass. Things pass over time. So again, we're constantly worrying. We're always worrying about these things. But really, when we look in the future and we look back, we realize most of the things we're worried about never even happened. So for me, that's a really reassuring thought. And I hope it helps you today from that. Now, as ever, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you are interested in applying some of the things that we went over today with your fitness and your self-improvement, if you want to build a physique and a routine that you can be proud of, I have spaces for my one-to-one coaching. Now, if you're interested in that, there is a link in the description to my inquiry form. You can inquire there and I will get back to you within 24 hours with that. But aside from that, I hope you enjoyed today's episode and I hope you can take one of these parts and apply it to your own pursuit of constant improvement. Thank you for listening.